little gameplay recording of some new features for the Tungsten Moon Demo version 0.1.6. And big change here is that the little button panel in the center of the screen has been cleaned up. Some things have been moved elsewhere. But really what I want to do here is focus this panel on things that are comparable to autopilot controls on an aircraft. So that would include things like the rate mode, which has been there all along. All control I'm leaving there because it's just an important button. And a new mode, hover mode, which has been requested to make managing the many different things going on in the spacecraft vastly simpler. So I'll demonstrate this by just lifting off using ordinary throttle. And you'll notice in the bottom of the view here there's a new lever next to the throttle control. And that is tied to what is by default the left controller thumbstick y-axis. So that's what I call the vernier throttle control. So you can make very fine adjustments to the throttle by moving that thumbstick up and down. It's proportional, so you move it far, it increases the throttle quickly. If you move it a little bit, it decreases or increases the throttle by just a little bit. Great for making fine adjustments. So now, we've been zooming up in the sky. We've got a vertical speed of about 23 meters per second. And let's say I want to hover. So I'll press the Y button on my controller, or I could press the hover mode on the autopilot display. It activates hover mode. Now what this will do when you activate it is it will try to match and maintain your current vertical speed. So I was going up at a vertical speed of 19.4 and it's going to try to maintain that at 19.4. If I use the left thumbstick, which was the vernier control for the throttle, now it adjusts the set point for the vertical speed. So if I pull that thumbstick back towards me, it decreases the vertical speed set point. If I get that back down to 0, and now once I hit 0, it's not only showing me that we're going to be holding a 0 vertical speed, but that at the moment we selected that we had an altitude of 1,647 meters. And the control loop will try to maintain that, so there won't be, or there shouldn't be, any sort of gradual drift of your altitude while you're at a vertical speed of 0. So it truly will hover at the right altitude. You can look down, our launch pad has drifted away from us. Now, a couple of other interesting things. Similar to an airplane, if you override the autopilot, the so-called autopilot action by grabbing your throttle and doing something with it, you have this lovely warning, and you have to disable the warning by pressing the warning button. So that's a good way to remind you that yes, you have just disconnected this autopilot hover mode, and you should pay attention and figure out what's going on. So I'm going to let myself fall down a bit. One of the things this will do for you is should make it relatively easy to perform a landing on a pad. You can use the hover mode to set a descent rate, and it makes it easier to line up and follow a path to the landing pad. So we'll try doing that just as a demo. Get myself down. I don't know where my pad went to. So I'm going to get it down to, let's say, 300 meters roughly. I'm going to use the throttle to do that. Oops, don't want to go too far. Let me scoot back up to about 300. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot up to 300 and try to get the vertical speed around 0. Not to be too accurate. Oh, overshot, a little past 300. So when I see that vertical speed on the right get down to 0, I'm going to hit the Y button on my controller, and that locked it in wherever it was. It was -1 meters per second, so I'm going to use my vernier control to set it up at 0. So now I'm holding at 347 meters. Now I want want to find out what happened to my pad. I want to go back to my pad. Let's land on the landing pad. Where'd it go? Hello? Where did you go? Did I really drift that far away? Oh, there it is. That's a nice position, I like that. So I'm going to stop this yaw. Now, I am hovering stationary vertically, but I am drifting horizontally. Hover mode does not lock your horizontal motion yet. I would do some experimentation with that before we do the demo release. I'd love to have a little horizontal stabilization as well. Let's see. So I'm going to get my horizontal velocity going up there, fill out my lateral if I can. So I'm now moving towards the landing pad at about 3 meters per second. Adjust my attitude to try to maintain that. And now, takes a little bit of patience. As you do this, you slowly, I'm hovering at a constant altitude, moving towards the pad horizontally. What you will eventually start to notice is a sense that the pad is beginning to sort of slide underneath you. That's not what you want. You want to have the sense that the pad is coming at you. So while I'm moving towards it with some horizontal speed, I want to dial in with my thumbstick a descent rate. I'll go with -1 meters per second. And now it's going to hold that descent rate no matter what. And I can use my pitch to control my horizontal speed. If I feel like I'm sliding over the pad, I can pull back a little on the stick. And that will decrease my horizontal velocity. And keep an eye on the digital display for the horizontal speed. Also change the range on the cross pointer display and try to get a sense for what horizontal speed I want. Maybe I'm guessing I'm at a 45-degree angle, so maybe horizontal speed of 1 meters per second would be good. So let's see if we can get that more or less dialed in here. Now, I'm relatively inexperienced with this mode. I think a little practice with this, you could get pretty good with it. We're pretty far away, so at descent rate of 1 meters per second at 300 meters altitude, we're talking about 5 minutes to get down. I think that's unacceptable. So I'm going to increase my descent rate to 3 meters per second. I'm going to have to increase my horizontal speed just a bit too. And now things are happening faster. Going a little too fast horizontally. I don't want that sense that it's sliding under me again. I feel like it's coming right at me. And this is the same, I think the same sort of instinctive sense for where you're going relative to the ground that you would use to line up a runway in an airplane. As you learn to fly, you learn to get that sense that the runway is coming at you versus sliding under you, versus you are getting too low in front of it and you're going to crash on the ground. So this is looking pretty good. Might be moving too slowly. I think it's beginning to rise in my window too fast. I want to keep that sort of centered in the window. So the neat part here is I'm really only worried about my joystick, keeping myself from drifting too much left to right, and controlling my speed. Yeah, going too fast. And it's arrest that horizontal motion. Now slow down, 0.5 meters per second. Now, let's see, let's not descend quite so quickly. If I descend at 3 meters per second and hit the ground at 3 meters per second, that will break off my landing gear. That's not much fun. So I'm going to aim for about 0.8 meters per second descent rate. I'm going to try to control it with the joystick. Keep myself moving towards the landing pad. If I see it sliding under me too much, I'll pull back. Now I really want to slow down my horizontal velocity and try to get myself stationary horizontally and let the descent rate take care of the rest. Should be down in about 10 seconds. Disable hover mode, and we'll just sit there. And landing is successful. So that's the major addition for 0.1.6. And while I've got you here, I'll show you the other things that are here. The thing that I pulled off that center panel, the landing gear, landing light, the refuel button, and the clock are now moved to the left-hand side. And as you can see, I have also added a logo for this thing. This is the Sky Dart, and a little plate with the spacecraft specifications, the important things. Empty mass, fuel mass, and the sum of the empty mass and the fuel mass is 5,000 kilograms. The maximum takeoff weight is 6,250. It gives you a sense for what kind of extra cargo could be carried on board the spacecraft, giving you an idea that in future versions of the game we will have some things to pick up and take someplace. And I think that were all the major... Oh no, we have one other thing over here on the right. We have the URL for the Tungsten Moon website where you can visit to look at a flight manual, basic instructions on how to use it. And I don't have a button in the cockpit for quitting the game, so you just have to press the Q button on your keyboard or escape or the typical